I am super excited today because I'm driving a Jaguar F-Type. Full disclosure, I am head over heels for this car and have been ever since it came out. It's one of my favorite sports cars of today, and I haven't driven one in about 4 years. So I'm very excited for the chance to do so again. Now, if you're even half as excited about the F-Type as I am, be sure to like this video and tell us in the comments what you like the most about this Jag. And of course, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon. So, why am I driving the F-Type again, you might be asking? Well, it's been given a slight facelift a little while ago, but more to the point, it's been given an all-new engine. Now, one of the things I loved the most about the last F-Type I drove was its mad, loud, beautiful sounding and very powerful supercharged 5-liter V8. So what does this have? A V6? Oh no, it's got a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And I know what you're thinking, blasphemy, they've gone and ruined it. But don't turn off just yet, because I think we should give this car a chance. But first, I think we need to be properly reacquainted. To me, this is still one of the most heart-achingly beautiful vehicles of the modern era, and maybe a few eras before that too. The long bonnet, the flowing roofline, the curvy haunches, the sharp tail, they all just do it for me. And though the biggest change you'll notice with the facelift are the full LED headlamps, they fit the design perfectly, and unique to this P300 variant is the central exhaust port at the back. Frankly, when a car looks this good, that's half the battle won. But still, I need to know what this new version is like to drive. Let's hit the road. So, let's start with the elephant in the room. Or should I say, the cat in the bag, because this is a Jaguar. It's the same 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged petrol engine from the Ingenium family that you get in a lot of other Jaguar Land Rover products. Only here it makes a bit more power at 300 horsepower, and it's got 400 Newton meters of torque. It is still mated to the 8-speed automatic gearbox though. Now 300 horsepower and 400 Newton meters, that might seem adequate for a regular SUV or sedan, but in a sports car, it doesn't seem quite enough, does it? Especially not when you're used to this car having upwards of 550 horsepower from a V8. What doesn't help either is that this isn't the lightest of sports cars. At 1525 kg, although it's about 100 kg lighter than the V8 version, it's also nearly 100 kg heavier than the Porsche 718 Cayman. In practice though, it feels sufficient actually, and that's a lot to do with the fact that it's got a nice low-end punch. As soon as you put your foot down, it takes off, and that gives you the sense right away of having enough power on hand. So far so good then. It then continues to pull quite strongly in the mid-range, with power tapering off only once you reach near the 6,500 RPM red line. So yes, while it doesn't feel neck-snappingly quick, and certainly nowhere near as quick as the V8 engine, on its own, getting you from point A to B, it's got just enough grunt to still be fun. Now V8 engines, and especially Jaguar's V8 engines, are not about just the speed, but also about the sensation along the way, and that includes the noise, and of course that's something that's missing from this 4-cylinder engine, unfortunately. When you start out until about 2000 RPM, what you get is this slight mechanical whine and whir. It's really not anything to write home about. But once you get into the 3000 RPM range, do you hear that? Sounds quite nice actually. And it only gets better when you put it into dynamic mode. That's what I'm talking about. Now see this is what a sporty 4-cylinder engine should sound like. I'm looking at you, Porsche. So yes, it's not a V8, it's not that barking mad hurricane of an engine. Yet somehow, it also works. I'm also happy to report that the F-Type still drives as well as it always did. Now, because this isn't the R or the SVR version, there is a lot of compliance in the suspension. It's also not riding on 20-inch wheels, but instead 19-inch wheels, so it's actually quite comfortable. But yet, the handling has not been corrupted in the slightest. It still feels incredibly agile and a lot of fun to chuck into corners. It's got that classic front engine rear wheel drive feel, long bonnet stretching out in front of you, and you're sat way back.
It's a well-balanced car, and since the engine is so much lighter than the V8, it doesn't feel as nose heavy, and that just serves to improve agility even more.
The other thing about the V8 F-Type is that it was always quite ready and willing to spin out its rear wheels with the slightest provocation. This one, with only 400 Newton meters of torque, is not quite as easy to unstick. The other remarkable thing I've noticed on this drive is the fuel gauge. I've been driving and shooting all of today. We're about an hour and a half outside the city, and last night I took it for a drive just to get a feel for it, and all this time I haven't exactly been holding back. And yet, here we are with about half a tank of fuel. In the V8 F-Type, I'd have probably made 2 trips to the fuel station by now.
Now, if there's one thing I haven't been too much of a fan of with the F-Type, it's the interior, and sadly, not much has changed here. Yes, it gives you a sporty feel with its big dials and aggressive driving position. There are also a few cool touches like the push-button glove box release and the AC vents that rise out of the dashboard. But overall, the cabin just lacks that wow factor, both in its design and in its quality, that you get from rivals. What is new with the facelift though is the larger In-Control Touch Pro screen, which does away with the physical buttons altogether. But this too isn't JLR's latest version, and it's feeling a bit dated now.
Now, I was concerned at the start that taking the V8 out of the F-Type would have taken away its soul, but I'm happy to report that all is not lost. Sure, it's not quite as exciting or thrilling or emotional or quick as the V8 version, but it's still a very good car to drive and far more fuel efficient to boot. But no, that is not the best part. The best part is that the 2-liter engine qualifies it for a lower tax bracket, and that means it's a whole lot cheaper.
While the top spec SVR with the supercharged V8 costs 2.65 crore rupees, this one costs less than half of that at 91 lakh rupees. That also means while the SVR is a rival for the Porsche 911 Turbo, this one is a rival for the Porsche 718 Cayman. It's a whole different segment.
What you get for your money is a car that drives really well and is just drop dead gorgeous to look at. And I think that's what Indian sports car buyers would like a lot. So for fans of the F-Type like me, be happy to know that this will likely mean we'll see a lot more of these on our roads.